Hey, what is up YouTube? Today I got a different video than usual today. Today I'm actually going to be doing a product review on the SCX 10 Trail Honcho 2 made by Axial. So without further ado, let's get into it. When this product was actually first released by Axial in their first SCX 10 model, it actually came with a gray body and a spare tire pan in the rear, which is really the two main differences. They still kept the front lights in the Honcho bumper. They still basically kept the Toyota model, and they just took out the spare tire pan, which is really the only difference cosmetically other than the color. But overall, it's a really good looking truck, and it's super popular among people in the scale world. This truck is really just about the same bone-wise as the first SCX 10 model, though the main difference is that it does have the realistic looking transfer case, and it does still have the ladder frame, but it does have all plastic shocks and linkage, which I hear a lot of complaints about, but so far I haven't had any issues with. They still appear to be very strong with the plastic links. I mean, they're a little flexible, but everything seems to hold up really nicely. And it just looks a lot different, but it looks really clean. It looks like it's supposed to be there, and it just doesn't look cheap and crappy. So this product, the same as the first generation Trail Honcho, actually has a waterproof receiver and ECS system, so you can take it through water, and it is capable for that, which is great in a scale competition. The thing that I do recommend though is running a 2-cell LiPo battery, which give you more power and it gives you longer run time. But it also comes with a 35 turn motor, which is just about perfect. It gives you enough torque, but it also gives you a good enough top end to where you can still get around really good in a competition. The next thing I want to get into is the center caps on the wheels. These are from the stock wheels, which I have done an aftermarket wheel just because the tires that came on it just weren't the greatest. But the hubcaps themselves are very sturdy and they hold up great. They make your truck just look complete. But more importantly, they protect the threads on your axles and your hubs so that they don't get all beat up when you're crawling. They're a great add-on. They're like $1.99 a pack, so if you break them, they're super cheap. And they just look good. They make everything look complete and up to scale. So it gives you extra points in a scale competition. Overall, they're great. They just screw on over your nut. So they're super simple. They use the existing threads on your hubs, and they just work out great. It shows that it does come with an integrated axle truss, which you didn't see on the first generation, which just kind of gives you extra support, and it just makes the axle hold up better for the shafts anyways. But inside the differential, you also have all metal gears, which are awesome because they don't strip out. They're nice and simple, and everything just, it sums it up and makes it run great. And you don't have to worry about grinding your gears and stripping gears out. So it saves you a lot of money in the long run as well. But it's also super important because you don't want to have plastic gears and everything else is metal. Which also leads me to the transmission gears inside of the transfer case. Those are all plastic, which is kind of a downgrade from the last Trail Honcho model. But it's still, they seem to hold up great. I haven't had this truck super long, but so far they're super great. I haven't had any issues yet. And the metal gears compared to plastic gears, you're going to get a lot more longevity out of your metal gears, and the plastic gears just don't seem to hold up as long, but they'll do the job until you can afford to buy all metal gears. But so far, my absolute favorite part to this truck is the transmitter, which is the new Tactic transmitter that's made by Axial. But it's really simple. It just kind of fits in your hand really nicely. It's all button control, so if you drop it, you don't have to worry about your dials. It's got the nice foam around your steering, which is actually super comfortable, so you don't have to worry about slipping or anything like that. But the nice thing about the Tactic is it runs off of 4 AA batteries, and it's very nice to hold in your hand. It's small, it's really lightweight, but it doesn't have the big bulky battery box on the bottom, which is nice. The only problem that I see with it is you kind of have to set it on its side, but it does fit perfectly inside your truggy frame in the body, so that works out great when you're not using it. It's great storage instead of letting it sit on the table. But another great thing about it is that it doesn't have a long antenna. It actually doesn't have any antenna. The antenna is all internal, and it works out great. What I had with my new Trail Honcho is that it came with a plastic steering horn instead of a metal steering horn, which I took it down to Northwest Hobbies, as you can see in one of my newest videos, and it stripped out within a couple of hours just of crawling around in the rocks, and it just didn't hold up very well because of its really high torque servo, which is made by Tactic. And I had to go out and I had to spend a little bit of money to buy the right part and just so it'll hold up better. But other than that, I haven't came into any major issues other than the tires not gripping up super well, which isn't a big deal. Tires are really easy to fix and change. But the chassis mounted servo also gives you a little bit of trouble when you're changing a steering horn. If it strips out, it just makes it a pain in the tail because you have to remove all your linkage, you have to take off a bunch of tires, and it's just an absolute pain. But in the end, it's worth it putting in the metal steering horn because you won't have to worry about it stripping out again. So overall, this truck is actually really capable in the rocks and on a short course if you would like to do that. But overall, it comes with great suspension articulation and super great travel. But with the new threaded shocks, it also has an adjustable spring rate. The other thing that's really cool is that it does have the piggybacks, which give it kind of that look. I'm not sure if they are functional, but they just look really cool. The only issue with the shocks is that it is a plastic shock body, so there's really no guarantee for how strong it is. And so far, I have experienced a slight bit of oil leakage on the rear end, which is kind of starting to collect the dirt, and it's not going to hurt anything. You just might have to put a new rubber in it. But overall, it doesn't hurt anything. It just makes the truck kind of look ugly. And it just kind of takes away from the fact that like you just bought a new truck and it's already leaking shock oil. But overall, they're great shocks. You can adjust your spring rate through the threads, which is super convenient because if you're on the trail and it's not working out great for you, you can just adjust it right there. But overall, these shocks perform great. Thus, the plastic parts, which kind of suck. But overall, they hold up awesome. They're great, and I absolutely love them right now. This product was actually first released by Axial with the flip. As I had mentioned earlier, they still have the headlights and taillights on the SCX10 Trail Honcho, which is an iconic thing, just like the front bumper. But it does come with extra headlight cages. As you can see, I have the PO ones on the front right now, but it does come with a bunch of extra buckets in the box, so you can change. If you don't want the circular lights, you can do like a square light, or you can do a triangular light, or you can really do just about anything. And you can relocate these lights just about anywhere on the frame. But the tail lights are actually integrated into the rear bracket, which I think is cool because they don't fall out and you don't have to deal with them. And the wiring is all internal and wired down and harnessed down. As you can see, like in that small wiring bracket, that holds in my servo wires and my front light wires, which is directly attached to the frame, which keeps everything super clean and uptight and looks good. So now that we've kind of gone over the specs of this truck, let's go see how it crawls on my backyard course and see if it's up to what it sounds like and to what I've said, just so you guys can kind of get some insight on how great it is and how capable it is. So the first part of this course here is this big rock obstacle, which is mostly made out of cinder blocks and one large landscaping rock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to see how this truck performs going up and over this part. So the only thing that I've seen so far is just that the front axle hooks up on the axle pumpkin, same with the rear, which you kind of can use your steering to get out of stuff like this normally, but this might not work out as good. So it's really kind of high-centered on the axle pumpkins, which is kind of a bummer. But overall, other than that, it performs great on the larger stuff. So the next part of the course that we're going to come up on is going to be my rope bridge, which I actually just made out of some boat anchor rope and some logs. The part about this is it kind of throws you off camber and you have to be really steady on your throttle. This really kind of tests your patience and what you're really capable of as a driver, as well as the capability of your truck. So you kind of try to come up it slow. You come up and over the top, and that's kind of where the drag brake comes in that's attached to your servos and your ECMs. And then when you come down this rock section, which is one of the harder sections to come up on the course, and then you go through this small rock bed, which tests the articulation of the vehicle. And as long as you don't motor through it and go super fast, it'll perform really well. So the next spot here is some 2x4s that I've cut in half to test articulation, which works out awesome because it shows articulation a lot. And you can kind of see how it's starting to articulate just that there. The next spot of the trail that we come through is this big V channel, which is supposed to simulate a creek bed, which tests articulation and your steering because it's all super tight. As you're kind of coming through this, you can kind of see how it starts to articulate and how it's going to use that front bumper to keep itself up off the rocks. But overall, the suspension and the steering on this is really great, other than that steering horn that I had to replace. Through here, you're kind of going to come through the back of these rocks here, and it's really going to test your steering ability. You're going to come into another creek bed like thing, where you come through here, And then you come up on some logs that you kind of have to crawl over, which you're gonna need you need a lot of patience to go through. Then you come up on another rock hill with a big tree stump in the middle of it, which you can choose to go over or not. And then you come over on some larger logs, which tests your torque ability to get up on those logs. And then you come down, and that is through the course. So after going over all the specs and testing it on the course, we know that this truck is really capable after doing some small upgrades. The stock tires aren't the greatest, but they work. But when you upgrade to some super swampers with some smaller wheels, and they just look great, they work great, and they make the truck overall function better. So if you've watched this to the end, thank you. Like, subscribe, comment, give me some information on what you think and some feedback. And thanks for watching.